What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in with a stranger? I worked security at an aquatic theme park and was watching Jeopardy in the employee entrance. One of the veterinarians came through and watched it with me for a bit. He said he watches it religiously and he'd passed the test for the show and was hoping to get selected. He'd heard that they like to have a diverse group of contestants, and they hadn't had a black guy for a while, so he liked his chances. A few days later, there are 2 black contestants, so when I see him leaving the next time I say, "Hey, did you catch Jeopardy last week?" "No, why?" He responds. "There were 2 black guys on it," I explain. He just stares at me blankly for a few seconds, and walks off. That's when I realized it was a different gentleman than I had the previous conversation with. Fuck dude. I'm ducking dead, oh my god. In the cinema. I interlocked my fingers with the kid sitting beside me for a full minute. Turns out, he wasn't my kid. Got on an elevator with a woman and she had on these really nice boots, so I complimented them by saying nice boots. She cups her breasts and says, "Well, you're not shy. Thank you, they're real," and then immediately realized I said boots. She thought I said nice boobs. Longest elevator ride ever. To this day, whenever I say boots in any context, I do so with a very hard deliberate T edit. Thanks for all the upvotes, everyone. For the record, I did say, "Well, those are nice too," in my head. Her reaction was awesome. I've had this same thing happen to me with one of my employees. Luckily, she deciphered what I actually said before it got too weird, and yeah, a very hard T from now on for me. The most awkward moment of my life thus far was with a stranger. I was in Quebec Airport going through customs with my family. Because of some recent changes to their system, they didn't have everyone in a line, but instead in a large pen where they would release 50 people at a time. Chaos. When my family is at the front, they release us and everyone is running forward in a mass trying to get to the kiosks. Next to me is a tall Swedish man trying to get his family a kiosk. He is running forward and waving his arm behind him in a come-on motion, clearly frantic. Well, somehow the worlds aligned where his middle and pointed finger went perfectly into my 2 nose holes. Perfectly, as he then ripped his arm upwards to motion his family forward. My nose was also ripped forward, and I immediately began bleeding, everywhere. He looked at me in horror, my family looked at me in frustration as we needed to get to a kiosk, the customs agents looked at me in bewilderment. The language barriers made the situation all the more awkward. Edit, wow. You all really seem to love my misadventures, ha ha ha. If y'all thought this was funny, you'd be dying at the first time I had to give a drug test for work. Real talk, never flail your arm without looking smile. Woman at a gas station didn't know how to put air in her tires, so I helped her because I wanted to put air in my tires and didn't want to wait all day to do it. She called her husband on speakerphone to let him know she found some nice man to help her air her tires. Then I hear him call her an idiot and say that I'm only helping her because I want to duck her, and where does she get off talking to other men? She stammered and tried to explain that nothing was going on between us. After she got off the phone, she looked at me as if her husband just caught her fucking me and got in her car and left. No thank you, no nothing. And for some reason I felt guilty for even helping her out. Jesus, I feel awkward just thinking about it. At the airport, I walk up as the elevator door is closing and there is a woman inside with a stroller. I slowed down because I wasn't in a hurry and would rather catch the next one. Then I saw a little girl about 2 or 3 is playing at a flower pot thing nearby. I realized she was likely meant to be on the elevator with her mom, but the doors are closed by the time I put it together. I walk up to her and said, "Did your mommy get in the elevator?" She just shyly smiles. I sit down with her and decide to wait in place for a few minutes for the mom to realize. A minute or 2 later, a man walks up and says, "Excuse me, can I have child?" In a thick Russian Y accent. I was trying to decide what to ask to figure out if she was his kid, when the elevator door reopened and the woman came flying out yelling for the girl. She hops up happily and runs over to the mom. I stared at Guy with an accusing look, then he turned and got in the elevator too. What the heck was going on there? Was he with them? Did he think I was trying to take their kid? Was he a creeper following them? So awkward. I literally sat silent through the whole weird encounter. Maybe he looked creepy and he pretended he was the father. That's a real possibility, but still would be an awkward situation to sort out with everyone possibly claiming to be the father to protect her. No. I am Spartacus' father. Woke up from a blackout drunk in bed with a woman I had never seen before. I didn't know her name or anything about her. Decided to try and get her name off her driver's license before she woke up. She woke to find me digging through her purse. It was my first time voting in a presidential election in 2016 since becoming old enough to do so, and polling place was at a library. When I get to the front of the line and start filling out the required papers, I mention it's my first time and what to do next. After hearing this, the woman who was working there and helping me raised her voice and said, "Hey everyone, we've got a first-time voter here." And started clapping so they all would clap as well. Nobody clapped, and I was just standing there really embarrassed before quietly saying, "Can I just go vote now?" Similar story, the first time I went to get a pedicure, I went with my mother-in-law. She's a very loud woman who often doesn't understand what she's saying. She kept screaming, "Be gentle with her, she's a toe virgin. She's a toe virgin. Don't pound her. God help me, I will never go back." Edit, we didn't know one another well at the time. And everyone else in the salon was a stranger, but I'm sure they haven't forgotten. My wife and I went out for a drink one night. We walk into the bar, I see someone I know at the bar with their back turned, walk up behind them and tickle their sides. Turned it, I didn't know this person, they just had me a weird look and walked away. Got their spot at the bar though. Total power move. Edit, my highest rated comment. Really guys? In the gang world we use something called fluffy fingers. That's when someone really gets in your face, and then you just start tickling him. And he starts tickling you. And pretty soon you're laughing and hugging. Before you know it, you've forgotten the thing. Y'all just go to church together and eat ice cream cones. Hooked up with a guy in college and fell asleep in his dorm room. I woke up in the middle of the night needing to pee, so ducking badly but unable to find any of my clothes right away. I ended up spending so long trying to find them in the dark that by the time I had enough to wear out in the hall to get to the bathroom I didn't think I'd make it. He was still sleeping, so I grabbed a big reusable water bottle and squatted over it. It was blissful relief until I looked over and saw his roommate staring at me in horror. Ha ha ha, I was that roommate once. My old roommate's ex was a sleepwalker and was really bad when she was drunk. One night I hear my door open and she's walking into my room stark naked. She opens up my laundry basket and squats on it, and I'm with my GF, so I'm whispering, "Amy, PSSST. WTF are you doing? Amy. PSSST," and yep, she takes a big healthy piss on all my clothes. As I'm still trying to whisper her awake without waking my GF up, she just kind of snaps out of it, the glassy eyes become focused and she goes, "Oh my God," and runs out. Next day I leave for work and I come back to all my clothes washed and folded with a case of beer in my room. Oh my God. Good on her for taking responsibility like that. Almost makes the whole thing worth it. That's totally worth it. When I was young, I thought some random lady was my mom, and tugged her skirt. She turned, screamed, and I screamed back. Not my proudest moment. When I was a teenager, my friends and I would spend the weekends staying up late playing video games and eating junk food. I was also a cross-country runner, and on this particular night I was experiencing some extreme chafing from a long run earlier that day. While we were at the gas station getting Doritos and energy drinks, I announced to who I thought was my friend, "Man, my nipples really hurt." Upon realizing it was a complete stranger with whom I had just shared this intimate detail, I simply stared at him and said, "You're not my friend," and walked away. I didn't go back to that gas station for a long time. Edit, am a guy for those wondering. You're not my friend guy, hangs head in sorrow. The picture in my mind simply is too entertaining. He thought he finally made a friend. I worked at Old Navy and some lady was looking at men's shirts and she stopped me and held up this shirt and asked if I thought it would fit her son. I looked around and no one else was around. We stood in silence for maybe 30 seconds before she started laughing and said, "Oh. Ha, you don't know my son, he lives in Michigan, we were in Washington State, never mind me, I'm just stoned. Ha." And then she went and bought the shirt.